Yo, it's your boy back at it like a bass addict. Today we're gonna do a little bit of a different video, kind of gonna jump into a quick little tip on lipless crankbait fishing, something that might help y'all land a few more fish. And I think if the feedback is good, I might try and do some more of these videos, just giving some small little tips here and there on different baits and techniques. So yep, stay tuned. Here's my quick little tip on lipless crankbait fishing. It's one of those baits that's kind of notorious for losing fish just because you've got these small little treble hooks. A lot of times you're moving it pretty quickly over grass or around rock, and so a lot of times you get these short strikes and the fish might not get it good, and so just having a fish hooked bad, and then also just having a lot of leverage of a heavy bait on a small light wire treble hook, usually not the best combination. But over time I've kind of figured out ways to counteract that and land more of the fish that I hook with lipless crankbaits. So I'm going to talk about two little tricks that might help y'all land a few more fish this year. So the first trick being, I use two different styles of hooks on my front and back hook. So I hear a lot of guys talking about, it's kind of the debate on whether they like to throw the round bend treble hooks, your standard trebles, or the extra wide gap trebles. But me personally, I like to throw both. So the benefit to the wide gap, I guess that's the wide gap on the front, is that the hook points are bent in a little bit. As you can see, they're facing towards the eye of the hook. So they're a little more weedless. So when you're coming through grass, those hooks are pointed inwards. They're not going to grab as much stuff. The other benefit is that once the hook gets into the fish, you kind of have that back pressure. So there's not as much of a gap for that fish to get out of. So they're pinned pretty good. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, for the round bends, the benefit is that it's more of an open gap. And so if you have fish that are short striking you, it's a lot easier for them to get hooked and get some meat into the bend of that hook, and it's not going to hold as well as that round bend hook, but you have more of a chance of sticking them. So the reason why I throw both and why they're kind of set up how they are is if I have one short strike me on the back, I have that open bend of that round bend hook, and so I'm going to get those short strikes. I'm going to land those a lot more often. But then if I have a fish that chokes the bait, maybe they eat the whole thing, they get both hooks, or they eat it from the front, they kind of T-bone it, having that wide gap hook, I trust in that a lot more. And so you kind of get the best of both worlds. If they eat it good, you've got that wide gap to just keep them pinned. But on the off chance that you're getting short strikes and they're not really getting it good, at least you're going to get a hook on them and have that round bend to stick into them. So that's a really good trick for y'all, especially if you're fishing around grass and you're burning your lipless. Some days they're going to be short striking it, slapping at it, and having that round bend is a huge help. And some days they're going to be choking it and you'll have that wide gap. And sometimes if you're on a really good bite, you can just switch to both of the wide gap if they're getting it really good. But for the most part, I just run one of each, that round bend on the back and that wide gap on the front. And the hooks that I like are the Gamakatsu trebles. These are just the 1X. I also throw the 2X sometimes if I'm fishing around really thick stuff. But these are size 4s, which is pretty standard for most lipless cranks, unless you're throwing something super big or super small, you would want to adjust. But for the most part, the size 4. So this is the Gamakatsu Treble EWG. And then these are the round bins, both great options. And then the other tip that I have is just in terms of your rod. Really important with all treble hook baits that you have a rod that has some good bend to it. So you want something a little more parabolic that's gonna absorb the shock when they eat that thing. So if you have a stiff rod and they start to load up on it, those hooks are just gonna pull out immediately. You're never gonna get a hook in them. But you have that soft rod, they're able to kind of grab that bait, turn, and then your rod just starts to load up. You really don't even have to set the hook. You just keep reeling, and they're able to get as much of that bait or as much of those hooks as they can in their mouth. So this one is a Dobyns Kaden. It's a CB, so the crankbait series. These are those more moderate actions. This is a mod fast, and this one's a 7.3 medium heavy. So 735, 7.3, 5 power is the medium heavy for Dobyns. But medium is also a great option. My other crankbait rod is a medium action, and that's just a little softer. And yeah, so if you're fishing some of those smaller lipless crankbaits, or you're fishing more open water, you don't need a little more beef, then you can get away with that medium action, and it just ups your odds of keeping those fish pinned. You can kind of play them, use your drag, and you don't have to worry about pulling hooks because your rod's too stiff. So yeah, if you're one of those people who kind of shies away from lipless crankbait fishing because you've lost fish in the past, hopefully that tip is gonna help you this coming season. The pre-spawn is a great time to throw lipless crankbaits, especially in these red craw colors. Up in NorCal, these baits smash fish. So yeah, don't be afraid to go throw those lipless cranks. Just make sure you're changing out your stock hooks and changing them to something like that. Those Gamakatsus are great. The Owner ST36s are also great, but that round bend on the front or on the back hook and that wide gap on the front hook is a super kind of sneaky little trick that'll help you get some more fish in the boat. So hopefully that helps y'all out, and I'll catch you on the next one. If you enjoyed the little tip and you want me to do more of this kind of stuff, just breaking stuff down in the garage, happy to do so. And I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.